Hello. In this session, we are going to learn about the roles and responsibilities of a project coordinator. Now, what is a project coordinator? Which stakeholder does the project coordinator come under? All these things we'll be discussing in this video. First, we need to understand the duties of a project coordinator. So, project coordinator, first of all, comes under the consultant stakeholder. Very similar to site engineer, project coordinator represents the consultant at site. Their duties are to ensure that all the projects are completed on time, within the budget, and meet very high quality standards as well. The role of a project coordinator comes into picture only when there is the consultant or a project management consultant involved in the project. Now let's look into what are the roles of a project coordinator. The project coordinator mainly handles four things. First will be to the senior team of the consultants, which is to keep the seniors updated in terms of reports, in terms of presentations, in terms of just the tracking updates at site itself. So the project coordinator is the one who will be observing the site, looking at what is exactly happening in the site, and write down the scopes of work, the risks that are involved in each of the works, and what are the issues that come for each of the work as well. So based on that, they analyze and they provide the solution through reporting or presenting it to their higher management. The second role that the project coordinator would handle inside is to do a day-to-day tracking. Now you might think that tracking comes under planning. Yes, it does come under planning, but as a consultant, normally projects don't hire consultants for just planning. They hire consultants for the entire project management spectrum. And that is why tracking also needs to be taken care by the project coordinator themselves. The contractor will have a planning manager who will be doing the planning, who will be doing the tracking. The client will also sometimes have the planning manager and they will be doing the tracking themselves. But the project coordinator is the one who checks whether there is a transparency between the tracking from the tracking report of the contractor versus the tracking report of the client. Now, what is tracking? Tracking is, in simple words, making sure whether the actual is going equivalent to the plan. Whatever we have planned on day-to-day basis on Primavera or MS project needs to be shown that the exact same thing is happening inside as well. Of course, it is easier said than done because there are going to be a lot of challenges, a lot of change orders, a lot of risk, external factors. In India, you might have a festival, you might have an election, you might have a protest, all those things hampering the project at the large stages. In that case, tracking becomes very important to make sure they monitor and control the budget and the time of the project. While doing this, the project coordinator also need to handle the project resources. While tracking, there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be days where the actual is faster than the plan, and there are going to be majority of days where the actual is at delay the planned version. In that case, maintaining the project resources becomes very vital to make sure that the project resources give their 100%, make sure that the productivity of the project resources are up to the standards. The third role of the project coordinator will be to handle the detailed project plan or detailed project schedule. And in planning terms, it is called as program. So either a schedule or a plan or a program. So when we talk about detailed project program or a schedule, the planning team will be the primary management of the project schedule. However, the project coordinator's role will be to make sure that there is transparency in that program, to make sure that every check has been done in the program, and to keep the planning management team in the pressure of making no mistakes. Project coordinator themselves will not be making any Primavera or a MSP plan, but what they will do is provide advice and provide help to the planning department of the contractor to make sure that the project schedule is as realistic as it can be. Because if the project schedule or plan is not realistic and is very idealistic, then we know that it is going to be a huge burden on the site team to meet those standards or meet those schedules. That is why it is very important for the project schedule to be as realistic as possible, considering the local conditions and considering the environment around it as well. It also involves making sure that the documentation of each and every work is on point. When I talk about documentation, it can be any kind of documentation, right from the billing department, planning department, procurement department, quality, safety, or just execution. So all those documentation also will be coming under the handling of project coordinator. And to make sure that the documentation is right, of course, project management offices will have their own standards and their own templates. So these kind of templates will be passed on to the contractor to make sure that the quality is maintained throughout the project. The fourth and very important part of a project coordinator will be to handle the communication between the client and the contractor. Because the client is the one who is investing the money, the contractor is the one who is doing the work, the consultant will be the technical answer or the expert in this triangle. That is why it becomes the project coordinator's responsibility to make sure that the client and the contractor are working in harmony throughout the project. And they become a mediator in this whole process. While doing so, like I told in the first role of a project coordinator, reporting becomes very important. Hence, the project status report will be keep on going to the higher management of the consultancy by the project coordinator. Hence, the project coordinator will be technically superior or should be technically superior than the site engineer and the client's engineers as well. So these are the four very important roles that the project coordinator in a project should be handling. In the next video, we'll be looking at multiple other roles, how labor works, how procurement engineer works as well. See you in the next video.